This evening, I discovered or noticed the tiniest thing, and I felt it would be interesting to share for the audience because this isn't the first time something like this has happened. And I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion that this is what has happened. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. I will share all the links that I display in this episode in the episode description. So if you're wanting to see the links that I display, I'll have them in the episode description for this podcast. Today is June 11th, 2023. It's just about 9 p.m. So before we get into it, just a little bit of background. The law that made cannabis legal as we know it in 2020 was known as the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. And just to get a little bit technical, the reason, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, I said legal in quotes is because I don't truly believe that it is legal because you can still get incarceration time. Criminal penalties are very much still a thing. We'll show you that in this episode. You can also get fines, still of up to $200,000. I think I'm seeing. So let's just lead with that. That's what I mean. We'll show you that here in a moment. Here's what the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act did technically. It legalized the sale of small amounts of cannabis to adults. It also legalized the possession of small amounts of cannabis by adults. As many of you know, the possession limits depend on if you're a resident. There are nuances to this. If you have a medical card, it's a little bit different, but we're talking about adult use cannabis. So if you are a resident, your possession limit is 30 grams, 5 grams of concentrate, and 500 milligrams of edibles. If you're out of state, it's half of that possession limit. Everything is half. So that is what the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act did. It basically just took away penalties that were originally established in something known as the Cannabis Control Act, which was a law that came about in 1978. So let's just take a look at this page. It's going to be our first link from Illinois NORML. And it shows the laws and penalties on the books related to cannabis that remain. So if you have anything more than 30 grams, you're looking at a misdemeanor. And this is for a in-state resident. Non-residents, it's half that again. So you can get in big trouble for only having just over 15 grams of cannabis. That's still very much something that can happen in Illinois. We criminalize intent in Illinois. So depending on what the officer thinks you might be doing, he can say that you're trafficking cannabis, which could, make you look at potentially 1 to 3 years in prison and a felony. For cultivation, there's a huge misconception here. People will see this. I mean, I just saw this online. They're like, oh, cultivation of 5 plants or less for personal use, if you don't have a medical card, is only a $200 violation. That is true. As you can see, it's spelled out here. But if you're if you're worth anything with regard to growing, and growing is really not that hard, you're going to easily yield more than 30 grams on just one plant. Okay. So you're looking at potentially a misdemeanor or a felony if it's your subsequent offense. Or, if you happen to grow 5 plants, you're easily going to yield 100 grams. I mean, you could probably do that with 3 plants. You're looking at felony territory, maximum incarceration time of 3 years. So it's not just a $200 fine. It's a $200 fine on top of potentially 3 years in prison and a $2,500 fine. That's how the law is written. And these penalties were originally established in the Cannabis Control Act, right? So this is the Cannabis Control Act. It was originally established in 1978. This is the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act, which was passed in 2020. The Cannabis Control Act set up all of these penalties. The Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act simply changed these penalties, 30 grams or less. And then, of course, with respect to concentrate and edibles, that was changed. That's it, though. All of the same penalties apply. If you don't fall within those rules, they throw the book at you just like they did in the past. All of that said, today, with cannabis being legal, there is this idea of gifting, and we've talked about it on the show many times. And basically, what it comes from is language in the in the Cannabis Control Act. So if you look up the Cannabis Control Act, and within that law, you look up casual delivery. Whoops. You can see, let me go here. Any delivery of cannabis, which is a casual delivery, shall be treated in all respects as possession of cannabis for the purposes of penalties. So I want to just back up and say that, first of all, I'm not a lawyer, but this was explained to me by a lawyer. So this is the only reason I'm able to explain this to you right now. It's been explained to me by multiple lawyers, but one of them that I'm comfortable enough to name on air is he made a post about it. So it's not like he explained it to me personally. He explained it to many people in a cannabis community. His name is Kelvin McCabe, and he was a board member on Illinois NORML. And he basically points to this language as, again, I'm going to read it again. Any delivery of cannabis, which is a casual delivery, shall be treated in all respects as possession of cannabis for purposes of penalties. In other words, as he explained to me, whatever amount of cannabis you're delivering casually, and casually apparently means without cash transaction. In other words, gifting. I don't know where that's spelled out in the law. I'm not going to lie, but that's how it was explained to me. You look at the penalty for possession. So this is where the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act comes into play. The Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act made it so that you can have 30 grams of cannabis, right? So there's no penalty for casual delivery of cannabis. That's how it's been explained to me. Now, we've even asked the state about this in our episode with the Cannabis Regulation and Oversight Officer. I'll pull it up right now. Now, this is what's interesting, just for background. There was an FAQ at the time of this episode. Now, just let me see when this episode was originally posted. This episode, which was the follow-up episode, so it was about a year ago, April 22nd. I'm not sure exactly when the follow-up episode came out. Let's see here. Just for posterity. The follow-up episode came out on May 8th. So this is where this email, just for timeline purposes, comes from. May 8th, 2022, I basically asked about an FAQ that was no longer available. And so the link is actually right here. And I believe I'll be able to actually recreate it. It had referenced gifting, but when you go to that, it redirects. It's really weird. And so what I did was I took this link and I went to the Wayback Machine. And I looked it up. So I'm pasting the link in. Bear with me here, folks. The Wayback Machine takes time. And let's look in 2020. Here's a snapshot from July 16th. I'm honestly just going off the hip, so let's hope that this is going to produce the result that I was looking for. Oh, yes, it will. So here's the old FAQ from the state. Again, I just showed you if you went to this link normally, it just redirects you to their new website. So if you guys want to recreate this on your computer, you should be able to. The first question on this FAQ is, can I give cannabis as a gift? Yes, as long as the person you're giving it to is age 21 plus and you do not receive any form of payment in exchange. So again, I asked the CROO, the point of me bringing this up is that I asked them that the, page, it was down. And, but am I correct to understand that gifting is allowed? And they said, I want to stress that this is not legal advice, but I would interpret both sections as you did. I will check with our legal team, but I can't promise a definitive answer. I strongly recommend that individuals with questions about the legality of specific behavior consult with an attorney. Definitely agree with that. Now, one of the things that I can't remember where I was told, but it was obviously off the record because I don't have it here. Maybe I mentioned it in a podcast, but I was told that there was a website redesign happening and that this language would be added back. Lo and behold, it was. And we made a post about it. Here it is. And you'll notice this looks different from the website I displayed before, and it's because it's from the new website. Now, what I'm going to show you is interesting because the language seems to have been removed again. And I'm not suggesting anything nefarious happened. It's just notable that the language is no longer there. So first of all, let's look at this website. So here's the link for this website. You can see we sourced it here. I'll paste it in the podcast description for us. But I'm going to go to that link. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to go to it. And you'll notice the same thing. It redirects us. Now, this is an entirely different link. I want to be clear about that. It's not the same link. So I'm going to go to the Wayback Machine again. And I'm going to paste this in. And this time I'm going to go into 2022. There's only one snapshot of this. And thank God there is one. It's from November 14th, 2022. And it's the redesigned website. Seems like they redesigned it again. I'm not suggesting anything nefarious happened. It just does seem perhaps that maybe somebody neglected to put this language on. I think it's really important language. I'm that nerd that notices, hey, it's not there. So I'm scrolling down and you can see on this new website with updated modern buttons, modern looking buttons, it says, can I give cannabis as a gift? I hit the plus button. Oh, is it going to work for me? Come on now. It's a little janky because it's on the Wayback Machine, but it says yes, as long as the person you're giving it to is age 21 plus and you do not receive any form of payment in exchange. Okay. So again, if I try to go to that website today, it redirects me to their new website, which is fine. Why don't we check out their FAQ? First of all, I don't see it. I think it's actually under. Okay, it's under here. There's the FAQ. And there's a lot of stuff here, but I don't. And again, unless I'm missing it, and I have been very high all day. And it would just be hilarious if it's just like, Cole, it's not here. That's why I'm stressing this may not be nefarious, but I'm missing it. I'm not fucking seeing it. Okay, so I'm going to do a Control F for gifting. Oops, gift, nothing. Gifting, obviously nothing. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a step further. I'm going to use their own search functionality, which I'm not saying it's going to be any better, but you'd figure it would be, right? I'm just going to search up gift. Nothing. Let's try documents and forms, I guess. Okay, I guess maybe it could be buried in here. Everything. Gifting. Okay, well, it's not easily accessible anymore is my point. It's not like one of the top questions. If you noticed, it used to be the number one question. But there's like nothing here. So I'll paste all these links in the podcast description. Tell me if I'm missing something. What do you guys think? That's the whole episode. That's all I got for you. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.